You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Al Padilla, and this is the Waystation, your source for Star Wars news and rumors the week of April 30th, 2023. Jonesy has the night off yet again, so joining me tonight is none other than Lauren. Lauren, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. We've got some interesting headlines coming out.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff in here. It's kind of heavy on the new Jedi Order film, if we're going to call it that. I don't even know if that's the official name just yet. But we've got some other fun stuff in here, too. We're going to talk about Star Wars Day. Some of the, May 4th is just around the corner. And StarWars.com has a full list of all the things that you can get as far as deals. So we're going to go through all of those and just do some window shopping, kind of highlight some of the things that I think that both of us are interested in purchasing. And then we've got some audio clips a little bit later from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni talking about the future of Star Wars and specifically their movie, which I'm not going to call Heir to the Empire, but it is probably Heir to the Empire. That's just what I'm thinking. So
I think you're allowed to take that one.
Okay, I can take that one too. And if time permitting, we've got other stuff as well. There's been a lot that's been happening, honestly, in the last week or two. So there's plenty of news to get into. But before we do that, just a quick shout out and thank you to all of our Patreon members who continue to support this show and provide the funds that we need to keep everything on, all the lights, including, the website, the StreamYard, all the software that we use. It just all goes back into the show. I mentioned, I think last week that we bought a tablecloth, which sounds kind of like trivial, but at the same time, we could have used that back at both of the celebrations. We got an event coming up this week where we're going to be able to display that. It's got the really nice logo on there. So, big time. So thank you. We couldn't do all that without our Patreon supporters. And specifically, thank you to our now part of the tribe members. So Rob, welcome back. Rob, also, first off, appreciate that, man. Mike Borda, Lauren, Dante, Risk Bayless, Justin Jackson, Sharkman Dan, Daz, Isabella, Uncle Leon. I almost called him Uncle Louie. Uncle Leon, Josh C., Jacob, and Steve. And then shout out to our Delusions of Grandeur members, which are Rod and CJ. Again, thank you guys so much for your contributions and support of the show. If you guys are interested in Patreon, you can go to cantinacast.com/Patreon, and you can sign up for any one of the tiers there. Support for the show starts as little as $1 and it goes all the way up to $20, and you can see all the bells and whistles and the benefits that you get from all those. So head over to Patreon and see if there's something there that you'd like to help with the show. Okay, so now that we've got the business out of the way for that, new Jedi Order, what do you got kind of cooking? What's coming up here in the books for you, Lauren?
So for Jedi Novel Archive, you know what? Sometimes I have a hard time saying it too. So
who came up with this name? Oh, wait, it was you.
I did, but I used to be way better at saying it. I guess I haven't said it like that in a while.
What's going on there?
So on Tuesday, I have my Path of Vengeance review dropping. Right now, I already do have a non-spoiler Path of Vengeance, kind of a sneak peek that I dropped last week. Mm-hmm. But on Tuesday, the full thing's going to be coming out with the actual release of the book. So that's going to be very interesting because that was a great read. And that's all I'll say about that. But I'm looking forward to it.
I'm excited. Yeah. Okay, well, we're looking forward to that. Again, if you want to follow all of that, head out to cantinacast.com/YouTube. You can subscribe to the channel. Please ring the bell. Do all the stuff that you need to do so that you don't miss any episodes of this show, and then especially for Jedi Novel Archive. I know, Lauren, you've been burning the midnight oil and really cranking out the content. So if you guys are into Jedi, I should say Jedi novels, but Star Wars novels, there's plenty of stuff there from Lauren, and there's now quite an extensive backlog of things too, which is really cool. So good work, Lauren. Thanks for doing
so much content coming out. So there's a lot more coming.
Yes. Awesome. Happy to hear that. Okay. All right, well, let's get into the news and kind of talk about what we've got going on this week. And we're going to start with, again, like I mentioned, there's May the 4th coming up here, right? We all kind of know what May the 4th is. Let me add this in here. So if you go out to StarWars.com, they have this kind of thing they put together where they're showing all of the perks, or not perks, but all of the deals that you can get that have been kind of coalesced here. I'm trying to blow that up for anybody that's watching the live stream right now. But yeah, so StarWars.com, here are the deals, and there's some really good stuff in here. So for example, like this one, the first one here. So Abrams, which is the folks that published the art of books for The Mandalorian, a couple other ones too, but I have the first one. I didn't even pick up the second one, and that's just a miss on my part. So this is like, I'm totally going to take advantage of this. 30% off if you use the code word Mando. It's only valid on May 3rd to the 4th, but I will tell you this, like as I was poking around on some of these things, it looks like some of these discounts are already applying. So I don't know if they are just they went ahead and just did them ahead of time, but some of them may or may not apply. But starting for this one in particular, May 3rd, 4th is when you guys can go online and pick this up. So I'm going to pick this one up because I really enjoy the quality of all of the art of books that they've put out from, since Disney has come on board. And there's just some really good stuff in there that you really get to kind of look at a lot of that artwork and realize that, if they didn't use it then, they'll probably use it in season 3 or 4, or they may use it in, Skeleton Crew or somewhere else. But this is one of the ones that stood out for me. We're going to keep scrolling through here. Or you tell me, like, what was one of the things, is there anything on here that caught your eye as far as a deal goes for May 4th?
Definitely, I agree with you about the art of books. Those are always really cool to see the, kind of like the background of what ends up in the show. But in addition to that, I saw like further down, I think there were going to be quite a few books that are 40% off, and that just interests me in general anytime books go on sale. So those were the main things that stood out to me.
Okay, we'll come to that in a second here. This is a really cool poster. Let's see, from Acme Archives and Dark Ink. They've done a lot of incredible works. I had this thing blown up, but it keeps stretching it, so I don't want to do it. Vader is not that skinny. Although it looks kind of like the Star Wars Rebels Vader. A little bit.
Yeah.
But no, that's not how he is. Okay, so that's normal size. But that one's 25% off. They've got Amazon. Looks like they have just specials in general, right? If you go to Amazon on May 4th, there's nothing specific here. So, I mean, it shows a family. I don't know what they're doing. Eating nachos
It looks like
and playing a Star Wars game?
Yeah, nachos and a game seems like a little bit of a dangerous combo.
Yeah, no, they're crackers and cheese.
Okay, that's better than nachos.
Hey, we're from Texas. Cut us some slack, man. We don't know what nachos
are. That is crackers and cheese to us.
Yeah, it is crackers and cheese, right? This
Yeah.
is, let's see, who is this here? This is American Tourist. So the guys that make luggage. That's cool. I wish they would have done like, I like the art, don't get me wrong, but if they would have just slapped Revenge of the Jedi on there, like it would have been I would have bought the set. I need something for Japan here in 2 years. So
True. And you won't lose that bag. Like when it comes out on the carousel with all the other ones, that one would be super easy to see.
Right. They're like, whoa, who's the nerd? Oh, there he is. He's wearing a Star Wars shirt and cap. It's got to be that guy.
Easy to find. Yeah.
Yeah. This is cool. This is the Beeline Creative. So this is like a set of tikis, which is kind of like, I don't know. When you go to Celebration, there's always a tiki set of some sort. I've seen them online for, outside of Celebration as well. But I guess I don't drink enough liquid from tikis to like invest in a tiki collection or set, but they always look cool. Do you own any like tiki sets by chance?
No, the tiki thing, it's a specific look. So no, I don't have any tiki stuff, but that is cute. I like the designs on those.
Yeah. This is what do we got here? 25% off the entire store. This is box lunch. So if you like any of their products, Duo Novo, which is the makers, they make all the helmet replicas. Let's see, they're running 10% off. Yeah, who cares? Like, so what, dude? Sorry, no offense, but that's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
It'll cover the tax, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Domestic shipping or 50% off international shipping. So I mean, maybe that's a good perk for the international.
I mean,
people.
free shipping certainly doesn't hurt. So
yeah. Star Wars Day, 20% off rings at Enso Rings. You own any of the rings? Like I keep seeing these pop up for like Lord of the Rings, all these different like IPs and franchises, and I've never bought a single one of these. I don't there's nothing. I don't have anything against them, but what about you?
I don't have any, but the designs always look really cool on those, and I like the colors.
Yeah. Look, you can wear Jabba. Now, if they had a Maz ring, I might be all over that.
Oh, that would be so... Yeah, you would love that.
I would love that. Yep. Put it right on my middle finger to give it to her every time. Here you go, Maz.
Specifically, yeah.
Yep. FYE. Wow, they're still around, huh? Okay. Buy 2, get 1 free Star Wars action figures. That's on May 4th. Funko. Buy 3 Funko, get the 4th one free. And you got to buy 3 online at full price. So that's May 4th through 7th. This is cute. This little jewelry collection they got going on here from Girls Crew. No, I don't really wear jewelry. That's not me. Let's see. They got the selfies for the figures. Huffy's doing 40% off. So bikes for kids. That's a pretty good deep discount.
That's a good deal.
So this one.
Yeah.
This is the one that I'm like, if you don't have this Chronicle. So if you're a High Republic fan and you don't have Chronicles of the Jedi, let me blow this up again.
Yes. Okay. This is what I was asking earlier. I was like, is the picture, that is one of them that's 40% off, right?
Yeah. No, that's
okay. Yeah.
Yep.
That's one that I have to go get for sure. Cause that's been on my list.
I think I showed this on a show and tell. It wasn't on the Tatooine trade post last week, but the week before that, before we rolled that show out, I think on the show and tell version of that Patreon show, I was showing this one, how it's kind of got a leather cover and it's got all this beautiful artwork on the inside. I mean, they really did a great job with this. So if you're a High Republic fan and this has been on your list and you've seen it at 40% off, I mean, this is like a deeper discount than I got for pre-ordering it. So to me, this is like a no-brainer. Like, you really have to get this one. So Inside Editions.
That book did look like a must-have. And it was also one of those ones where, in addition to having really cool art, it looked like it would be a good resource too, which that always means a lot to me when it's like art plus a resource.
Yep. Especially like as a reader's companion for like books. Those are always invaluable. So.
Right. Exactly.
Lego's got a lot of stuff going on. I'm not going to read all this stuff. Just go. I mean, there's a ton of crap in here. And then as usual, when you go, like if you go to the Lego store and you buy a certain amount of Lego, they give you like a free something. I think this is what they're giving away this year as an X-Wing. This little mini
X-Wing. That's cute. I like that.
Yeah. Macy's, buy one, get the second 40% off all Star Wars toys. Again, didn't realize they were still around. Let's see what we got here. Milk Snob. I don't even know what this is.
What?
Milk Snob. Oh, this is a baby carrier cover.
Oh, okay. I was like, that is a very specific shape that I couldn't place.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right, but I mean, maybe.
I think you might. I mean, yeah, that is. Now that you say that, that's what it looks like to me.
Okay. The print's cute. It's got like a little baby print.
Yeah.
This book is really good. And I feel like we didn't give it its fair shake, and I know a lot of people didn't either, but May the 4th, if you're interested in Ronin, this is kind of their timing this in, of course, they're coordinating this with the release of Visions 2, but you can get the e-version of Emma Camden's book Ronin for $2.99, and it's definitely worth $2.99. This book was so smart that it was like I couldn't even get through most of it. I got through it all, but it's one of those books where I had to reread everything. I'm like, crap, this lady's incredibly intelligent.
You had to take your time. Yeah.
I did. I had to take my time. She was like 2 steps ahead of me the entire time. But really good book. Let's see. Random House, so that was from Random House. Sorry. 40% off Regal Robots. So these guys have all of the replica stuff, right? You can kind of see it here. They've got like the Mythosaurus skull. They've got the replica, I don't know what they call them, but the bombs or detonators that Mando uses. You can buy one of those. They got a ton of other stuff as well, but theirs is not bad at all. 40% off.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
We got more jewelry, more fine jewelry. Wow, this is really fancy stuff. Look at that. Would you wear something like this? Do you wear anything like this now?
I do have I have a little Jedi symbol necklace that I wear sometimes.
Yeah. Do people
but not usually. I don't get a lot of comments on it. No. It might be too specific, but I mean, I like it. It looks good. So that's what matters, I guess.
That's what matters, yeah. Target's doing 20% off. Oh, good. Here's one. I think this is the last one, and the one that I think I'm probably the most excited about, with the exception of some of the other books and the Mando book. But 40% off all posters at allposters.com. They have. We're not going to click the link, but if you go here, they have just about every poster that's ever been released. Even like you can see here in the middle one, this The Force Awakens. This is the IMAX version posters that they did, the collection of those. You can buy those replicas, and they're full size movie posters. But yeah, I mean, 40% off. I mean, these are like $20 to $23 a piece, which is really good because normally you spend $40 on these things.
And the ones that they have in the ad are like the ones that you don't usually see as often, which is cool.
Yeah. So, but I think that's the last one on there. So yeah, some pretty good deals here. The only thing I did not see on here that we tend to see is on the video game front, and it's usually the same stuff. Like Steam will do 40% off all Star Wars games, right? So if you want to go back and play like KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, all that sort of thing, all those games are out there. They give them pretty deep discounts on them. So I'm sure that'll get announced here. Maybe they'll append to the website. But yeah, if you get a chance, again, go to StarWars.com, click the link. You can see all the codes there, and may your wallet be with you, because I think I'm gonna spend quite a bit here. I always spend a lot of money on May 4th for obvious reasons.
I guess that's the plan. That's that's what they want.
Yeah, that's what they want. Okay, let's talk about the new Jedi Order next up. So the rumor is, first off, May is coming in 2025. So Jonesy and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago as well, that it was probably looking like May 20. Or I'm sorry, I don't keep saying May, but the movie was coming in 2025. New Jedi Order. They're talking about pre-production in August, and that casting would happen sometime after summer, maybe possibly right around Labor Day. Now, I've heard this from a couple different sources now, so I think it's tracking. And these two different sources are people that they don't really have the same sources that come to them. So really, you're looking at 4 or 5 different sources that are coming together saying it's all the same thing. So this seems about right. Jonesy expressed some concerns about this feeling too aggressive or maybe rushed. If we're looking at a 2025 release for New Jedi Order, that's like a year and a half away. Do you feel like you'd have any concerns with it, given what happened with other movies? And
yes, I would have thought that it would take longer than a year and a half to get a film casted, written. Well, maybe it's already written. I guess we don't really know that for sure, but casted, everything organized, costumes, props, puppets, all of that. I don't know. That sounds like that would take longer than a year and a half. And then you have to shoot it, and then you have to put it together. So
yeah,
I don't see how they're going to do that. And I do have major concerns about rushing things, because that hasn't worked out well in the past. So I like to say that I'm willing to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong, but right now that does sound a little quick.
Yeah. It does feel aggressive. I would agree. The only silver lining, I don't know, positive, I don't know how you want to look at it, was, and we're going to talk about this here in just a few minutes, but in terms of the writing and the script, it sounds like that is almost wrapped up here. There was a
that's good.
We're just now getting wind of the Lindelof stuff, which we'll talk about, but a lot of this is, we're always, we're probably 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, 2 months behind on some of that stuff. He was already out at this point, and the new writer's now been in place for at least 30 days, maybe even longer. So I don't know. I guess if they could get pre-production started in August, and then casting and everything by summer, Labor Day-ish, they start filming around that time. It's a quick turnaround, but we don't know when in 2025, right? They could pull, it could be sometime in December of 2025. Disney seems to enjoy the summertime, the wintertime Star Wars release, where Lucasfilm was kind of more traditional back in May, around that May 4th era, or sometime in the spring. So, we'll see. I guess it depends on exactly where it lands in 2025, but I would agree it does feel a little bit rushed, or possibly setting themselves up for some hurt. Okay.
I guess to be fair, some of the casting is already decided, probably. So
yeah,
maybe they don't have a ton of other casting to fill in. So maybe that won't take as long as I'm thinking.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that too. So yeah, you're hitting all the right notes here. So Let's talk about Damon Lindelof. So I've got an article that was pulled up here. This is the article he did on Esquire. It was actually more of an interview. If you go to if you go to the website and find this article itself, there's a video you can click on. He talks about a lot of different things. He talks about his time on Lost and Watchmen, The Leftovers, some of the other stuff he does. Again, for in full transparency, I'm a huge Lindelof fan. Like I love everything he's done. It's bittersweet. I understand. I mean, like my favorite all time show is Lost, and for all the good and bad of that, right? We talked about this at one point on the show. We talked about Snake in the Mailbox. I have to explain that another time. But I really enjoy listening to him talk about anything and everything he does. He's so passionate about it. He's such a fan, in my opinion. But it was kind of heartbreaking to hear that he had been let go. And so Esquire had asked him. There was a question that came up about whether or not it started by, hey, we heard that you were in talks to do a new Star Wars movie, and he kind of says, look, I was in more than just talks. I had joined the Star Wars universe, and I was asked to leave the Star Wars universe. So now, if he did say on that note, he did say that if he was ever asked to quote get back in line again, right, to come back in, he would do it without a hesitation. Like he really wants to do Star Wars. And in fact, in this little thing here in this clip, and we're not going to play the clip, but in the clip, if you watch it, he's talking about how I think The Empire Strikes Back was his first movie, or Star Wars was his first like movie experience. I think this guy's like a year. I think he's my age or 1 year younger too. So not that that's important, but that's when I talk about my favorite movies and those experiences as a kid. It always goes back to Star Wars. And so for him, this was a passion project. It was something like he felt like it was the alpha and the omega. It started with Star Wars. He wants to end it on Star Wars, so to speak, right? So it sounds like he would really be interested in doing all of this. Here's the question I have for you, though. When you hear that he was asked to leave Star Wars universe, do you think that bodes well? Does that sound like a good thing, bad thing, indifferent? Let's also take into account the Rogue One, right? Rogue One had a number of people that went in and out, asked to leave, asked to come back. They had script rewrites, reshoots down to the last wire, and then look at the movie we got, right? It was incredible. So, how much of that plays into this, and how much of a concern is it knowing that Lindelof was asked to leave and didn't leave on his own accord?
So I do think that whatever happened, I do think that they could probably turn it around because of the Rogue One example, like you said. Like, we have been shown that even if certain people don't work out, then, they can still fix it at times. But I do find it strange that he was asked to leave, especially after how much buzz there was about him doing a film. That it's strange to me that, like, all of that information was out there and then it was taken back. Because I know that there have been instances where, like, before anything was put into the media, people were kind of changed out, asked to leave, come back, all of that, before many of us even knew about it. But with him, I mean, I feel like it was out in the news that he was going to do it. So the fact that it made it out there and now he was asked to leave, that is just, I don't know, something about that sounds odd to me.
Yeah. So, not in the Esquire article, and he makes no mention of the specifics, okay? But again, as far as a rumor goes, and again, this isn't a leak of any sort. This is truly a rumor based on some of the other sources that I follow. But I had heard that he was asked to leave because the script that he had, I mean, he had turned in a first draft, right? And that first draft, after I guess they had given him the time frame, like, hey, we're trying to get this movie by 2025. I had heard that he was like, there's just no way. Like, I can't do it. Either, it's my movie, it's my script. I'm going to need more time to really do this right, kind of thing. And Disney was like, hey, no, sorry, we're on a time schedule. And that's why he may have been asked to leave, not because they didn't like his script or didn't like the direction it was going. Now, that I think people are conflating this story about him being asked to leave with the story that we're going to get into next, which is what was his story about, which was Rey at 60 years old, way into the future, right? I think I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I think they could be, and until we find out more, those could be separate kind of stories and both be true, right? He has a story that's 60 years in the future. They decided to change direction on that story, but that doesn't necessarily mean that was the reason that he was let go. I can see where people tie these together. It's very easy to tie into, oh, they didn't like his script. They didn't like the fact that he was going with an older Rey when they had Daisy Ridley now, and so therefore he was asked to go. However, what I would say in defense of that, or I guess in contrast to that, is if that was the case and he had already turned in his first draft, usually in the first draft you have the higher level beats, right? So I don't think there's any way he would have snuck in the fact that, oh, Rey is actually 60 years old or much older, and Disney said, okay, yeah, that's cool, and then later on go, oh, wait a minute, we didn't see that, sorry, we're going to let you go because we didn't like the story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me as well that if the issue being the 2025, I mean, that sounds very believable that somebody with experience who understands how long these things take would say, like, hey, this isn't super realistic to get this done in 2025. So that to me sounds more believable than them not liking the story.
Yeah. So to kind of piggyback on that, again, it was set 60 years after the rise of Skywalker. Allegedly, this is from John Roca and Jeff Snyder over at the Hot Mic. There was an older Rey training 2 Jedi. There was a man and woman that she was training, and the comp for the pitch. So the comp being like when they pitch the story, they usually tie a current actor or actress to the roles so that people can get a visual of kind of what they're shooting for, what they're looking for. It does not necessarily imply that that's the person that they're going to go after to play the role. And what they had pitched was Helen Mirren was going to be the actress that they had in mind. Like imagine a Helen Mirren type actress in the role of Rey, playing Rey. Which I don't know. I mean, again, I'm trying to remove Helen Mirren from this whole thing, but even still, like, why wouldn't you just put a Daisy Ridley and just age her? We have the technology, right? And that way you can have flashbacks. You don't have to worry about anything. We did it with Ian McKellen in as the Emperor. Of course, he had a lot of makeup on. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about an older Rey from a story perspective? Older Rey teaching 2 younger people 60 years after, or 60 years old, way beyond the Rise of Skywalker. Does that do anything for you?
I mean, imagining it as Helen Mirren actually does do something for me. I think that would be super cool. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Helen Mirren fan, but I actually do. I do like the idea of a time jump and getting to see Rey with like more experience, kind of having been through, some of the tough things that Jedi go through in order to have that background to be able to train others effectively. That would be like one of my concerns actually if there is no time jump or a very small time jump would be, does she really have the experience necessary to be able to train others? So like if there was a time jump, that would pretty much fix that in my mind.
Yeah. So I don't hate that I've like seen the pitches for or read about the rumors, and on paper reading them they sound terrible. Like I'm not for it. And then the movie comes out and I'm like, "Oh, okay, that was not bad, or actually really enjoyed it. I didn't see it that way." So again, I'll stick to what I've consistently said on the show for a number of years now, which is as long as the story's good and it makes sense, I'm on board. That's all I'm asking for, right? And so, could it been and plus it's Damon Lindelof. So if the rumor is true, I mean, I have to say that I would be in favor. He's not done many things wrong, in my opinion. And I know how much he loves Star Wars because there are 8 billion references in Lost, deep cuts in Lost throughout the episodes of Star Wars. So anybody that would argue that he's not a Star Wars fan and his heart isn't in the right place is just misplaced, right? So I would have to trust that he would, whatever story it was that he was brewing up, it's probably going to be pretty good. I'd give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah, knowing that they're a real fan, that always wins points for me too, because then I trust them more with the story.
Yeah. So the other rumor that we had here, this is all again related to this new Jedi Order movie, allegedly, as we're calling it. Again, this is from Roca and Snyder from the Hot Mic saying that. So Roca says, from what I understand, and what some of the rumors have come out here is that Daisy won't necessarily be the lead. She will be the Luke Skywalker or the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the situation, and she will rebuild the Jedi Order. So this is now talking about the current script that they've got out, where we know Rey is going to be starting up the new Jedi Order about 10 years after the rise of Skywalker. Now they're saying, okay, she's not really going to have a major part in it. She's going to have kind of a secondary part. So allegedly, I would assume that this story is going to focus on some younger Jedi, similar to like a Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, where she's now the elder in some ways, teaching him or her or them, whatever that may be the case. Snyder confirmed it from his source, again, a separate source, saying that this was definitely what he was hearing, that this was going to be more of where the story was going. And then they both kind of confirmed from two different sources that John Boyega would indeed be back in this movie, saying that there were some talks, they had some conversations, kind of buried the hatchet, if you will, a couple of years ago, maybe about a year ago. I remember when this was happening, there were people talking about this, that he had been back to Lucasfilm, had met behind closed doors. There were rumors that he was going to be coming back. Nothing happened for, the better part of a year. And now we're hearing that he's coming back. So maybe they did bury the hatchet and maybe things are better. But how do you feel, I guess, first off about, let's see, I guess Rey being not necessarily the main character, not necessarily the main focus, and then the idea of Finn coming back to into the Star Wars landscape again?
Well, if Rey is not the main focus and we know that Finn is coming back, it does make me hopeful that maybe we would get the story of Finn that I know a lot of us were hoping for, of him being force sensitive, as it seemed like it was teased a couple times in the films, and kind of what he's going to do with that. I would love to see a more Finn focused story if that's in the card for us, but I know it sounds like maybe it's going to be some new characters that maybe we haven't met before instead, but I'm glad that they buried the hatchet, as you said, because I definitely think that was something that needed to happen. I felt like his concerns that he had were valid. And so I'm glad that they were able to work it out and that we get to have that character back, because I feel like that character was one of the highlights of the sequels for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I'd be looking forward to him coming back for sure. I really enjoyed his character, and I felt like he didn't really get the fair shot that he was given, or maybe I would say promised, but at least talked about. Jonesy's with us actually in the chat. Sorry, I just noticed. He says if they don't want, no, that's not the one I want to go to. This one, if she's rebuilding the Jedi Order, then how is she secondary?
Yeah, I was actually wondering that as well, because when when it said like she's not going to be a lead, she's going to be like Luke Skywalker or Obi-Wan Kenobi, I was like, you mean like the two biggest characters in Star Wars?
You're right. Yeah.
I guess what that meant was kind of like more like, there were a couple of films where, they both took a little bit more of a back seat, but yeah, it's difficult to imagine her being there but not being front and center. But I think that it could work though if we have some really strong characters as the focal point instead.
Yeah. I can see where it still works. I mean, if you're going with the idea that she's rebuilt, like if 10 years from now or 10 years after the rise of Skywalker, she's literally saying, okay, as of today, I'm going to start a new Jedi Order. I would agree. Like that, how could she be secondary, trying to rebuild this thing from the ground up? If 10 years have passed and she's already got a building and she's already got some students, but really is kind of struggling, can't really get there, that kind of thing, or, or not really being able to find force sensitives. I don't know what the conflict is here. I haven't even really put a lot of thought into it, but then maybe I can see where, we don't have to get through the beginning, the initial ground kind of building of the Jedi Order, literally, but something that's already in place that just needs some, care and feed, or some nurturing, or, the conflict of or everything that's going on, the conflict of trying to get all this stuff and running is already in existence. And yet there's a secondary conflict that comes in where she now has to mentor these other Jedi because, they've got to, attack, or they've got to defend themselves or whatever else. Then that feels like, okay, maybe they can do that. Maybe that's where she's not a primary character, because she's just there to kind of support them, and she's still doing all the new Jedi Order building that's already in progress. So that's my quick, like, on the spot rationalization of that. But I would agree, it's going to be very difficult for them to kind of build from the ground up if she's not a part of this. So
yeah.
Okay, the last thing that we'll talk about tonight. Let's talk about Heir to the Empire, which I'm using quotes, Heir to the Empire, which is the alleged movie that Dave Filoni's working on, probably scheduled for 2026, based on some of the rumors we talked about last week. But there was an Entertainment Weekly article, and there's a podcast that Entertainment Weekly does called the Dagobah Dispatch. And on here, both Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were kind of talking about the kind of who was going to be in the movie, right? This all-star cast. So I actually have some audio, which if I don't screw this up, hopefully I've got this right. I'm going to play the audio so we can listen to it, and then I want to get your reaction right afterwards.
In the right space, I think it's going to be a clamoring of characters saying, how do I get in this picture? And that's what John and I have been figuring out. I mean,
so it sounds like he's got a clamoring of characters. They're all trying to come into this one space to be a part of the movie. And I think some of the concerns that I was seeing from people were, man, it feels like there's going to be a lot of characters in here. And is it going to feel like, the Avengers, where all of these mighty characters are on stage at the same time? Is there going to be upstaging? What kind of story are they going to be telling? I guess from you, how do you feel about that? Any concerns about, having on stage Bo-Katan, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Mando, Grogu, right? In my head, I'm thinking like, wow, this is going to be like 20 people on stage, and they're all major. Luke Skywalker, right? Why not throw them all in there? How is that going to work?
Cameo overload.
Overload. Exactly.
Yeah, I do feel like Dave Filoni can handle that, because I feel like he's written material before where we've had a lot of strong characters interacting together and it's worked. So I think that it could be fine, but I agree that it does sound like quite a lot. So it will be interesting to see how that works out. But I almost wonder if it's going to be kind of like, rather than them all being on screen together, it's kind of like them coming in and out at various times when it's appropriate, and kind of like rotating a little bit rather than cameo overload all at once.
Yeah, and I think and Jonesy's talking about it right now. He says the good news is with an Avengers style movie, it's not you're really looking for character development. It should all be done. And he's right at this point. I mean, we're all well aware who the characters are. So really, it's just how do they fit themselves into the overall narrative of that particular story. And this is kind of what Jon Favreau talks about. So I'm going to roll the second clip here where he's kind of talking about this very thing. So here we go.
In this galaxy, it's a long play. And if things go right, you get to do more of your story. And things, I think, have broken in a good way for us. And people have enjoyed the characters that we've been making. So certain opportunities came up the further we kind of went along, and it's a part of the timeline that probably for me and you growing up with the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi was the end, but then you're always like, but what happens next? And then when Episode 7 was set so many years later, like probably when I was a kid, I never would have thought it would have been that much later, but it made sense.
It was basically real time.
Yeah, it's almost real time. It created an opening where you go, wow, so a lot of the things maybe that we knew before are probably in there. How do we excavate that?
Sorry, that was a continuation of the clip. That wasn't Jon Favreau. That was actually Dave Filoni. But what Dave Filoni was talking about here was just how to the long game. And I think that's kind of what we've been talking about too, right? There's a lot of the questions that we've kind of scratched our head on some of the series so far. Probably the most apparent, which is The Mandalorian season 3. There were some things that were thrown in there that we were just kind of like, why is this here? It's that long game. He's speaking to it. And we talked about it when we were talking. We said Dave Filoni doesn't do anything that's not intentional. He is world building. He's planting seeds for later down the road. And in that clip, you could hear him talking about that's how he was taught. And it's a long game, right? And he says, if you can pull it off, which I think is the key word here, or the key phrase, it's to be determined whether or not this is going to work. We'll see. But yeah, they're definitely have a plan in mind. There's definitely a lot of thought and conscious thought, very sensitive thought going into how do we get all these characters together? What story are we trying to tell? And how do we bring back Sabayoth? So any final thoughts on the two clips that we heard, or the Heir to the Empire movie that we're allegedly going to get?
Well, I have high hopes for it because it sounds like all the building blocks are there to make it work. So, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, so I know we're way over on time. We've got a few other things. Just quickly, some other stuff that's happening right now. Don't forget, Young Jedi Adventures is already, I think they're out. I think I saw the first 4 of them. Takes place in the High Republic. Super cute. Really enjoyed them. It's actually very inspirational. I'll just leave it at that. But they're definitely made for toddlers and like preschool kids. So don't get strung out about it not being, real, or the situations are comical. I mean, check yourself, please.
Yeah.
The other thing, just Jedi Survivor is out. The reviews so far have been pretty darn positive. I think everybody's been talking about, 8s and 9s in terms of how they would rate these 4.5 out of 5s, 4 out of 5. So if you like the first one, I think every one of the reviews that I saw, and I did the research, said you got to buy this one because it's a lot of the same, and a lot of what really worked in the first one is in the second one. Officially, I think they're saying 25 to 30 hours of gameplay. So that's about on track with the first one. Maybe a little bit more, a tad bit more, just kind of depends. Your mileage may vary depending on how good you are, how well you play these games. And the last thing I'll just quickly mention is there was a letter. So if anybody has the PC version of Jedi Survivor, there's apparently a lot of problems. And problems for like the 1% of people. Like it seems like you have to have this incredible, amazing rig of a video game system or computer in order to experience some of these problems. So if you're, kind of like me, just middle of the road, PC user, you're probably not going to see it. But they did release a formal letter of apology saying, hey, we got it. There's a lot of stuff that's not working for high-end PCs. We're on it. This is Respawn and EA talking about it. So just know that there are some bugs out there. Okay, last question before we get out of here. For Jedi Survivor, what did you land on that? I know I keep asking you every week, but I just want to make sure nothing's changed. What are you doing for coverage on that story there?
I will be doing a story review, so it'll be very much from a storytelling perspective, but I am going to cover that here in a few weeks once we get through some more High Republic content.
Yeah. And you're going to tie that into Battle Scars, I'm sure, as well, right?
Right. Yeah. I'll be talking about kind of like how it all goes together, especially after reading that book and all of that. So I'll be getting into the details from that storytelling perspective.
Very cool. Cool. All right. Well, we'll end the news there. Again, a lot of stuff going on. If we don't hear from you guys, we'll be back on. Actually, let me take that back. We don't have a show this Thursday because we're going to be doing a live show, Jonesy and I, here in Austin, Texas, at Central Machine Works for May the 4th be with you all. Y'all, I should say, which is a Austin event that's held here every year for a charity. We're going to be doing a countdown. So quick plug for that. If you go to any of our social media pages, there's a link there to click to go to a poll, and you can vote for your favorite Star Wars movie. Not the best Star Wars movie, not the one that made the most money, but what is your favorite Star Wars movie? If you vote for that, we're going to do a live show on Thursday for May the 4th be with y'all and kind of count that down. So we're looking forward to that. Pretty excited about it. But again, if we don't talk to you guys before then, May the 4th be with you. Lauren, any final words before we get out of here?
Nope. May the 4th be with y'all.
Okay. All right. I don't have the updated credits. We'll have those up here later this week. But thank you again to all our Patreon members. And we'll see you guys, if you're a Patreon member, in about 18 minutes at the top of the hour. We're going to record our Spotlight Patreon show this week, which is going to be covering Life Immortal, which is a short story by George Mann. So until then, we'll see you soon.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.